different intro. That's just, it makes me want to go to sleep. What is up, everybody? Good evening. You are now Card Time with Texas Card Dude Evening Edition, not Morning Edition, Evening Edition. I have the distinguished and honorable 1 Million Cubs Project Beau himself. Honor and privilege to have him. Friend of mine, friend of ours. Welcome, Beau.
Hello. What time is it? Is it 7 a.m. or 7 p.m.? We're burning both ends of the candle today.
Hey, let's just do Hobby Palooza all over again. What's up, Diego? Man, Diego catches us in the morning and he catches us at night.
Diego's burning both ends also.
I'm just wearing a hat and I shaved this evening. That's all. Actually, I didn't shave for you. I shaved so that tomorrow morning I didn't have to shave going to the Dallas Card Show.
Good idea.
Oh, what is up? What's up, Ken? What's up? What is up? What is up? Let's see. We got 12 hours in between. There you go. There you go. It's card listing time is what it is. It's card listing time. Everybody right now is going to put us on the big screen TVs and start posting cards, and we don't have to because we've been doing it all day.
That's what we've been doing for 12 hours.
Yeah. So after this, I don't know about you, but well, you probably got some shipping to do still.
Yeah.
I've got a spreadsheet to finish, and then I'm done for the night.
There you go.
I've been burning it till 2 a.m. for the past couple of nights. So Kim said, "You're done, dude. You're done." I may jump in the hot tub though. I might jump in the hot tub tonight. That'll be fun. It'll be fun. Jump in there and get some relaxations. What do you do to wind down at the end of the night?
Oh man, I don't.
Well, how do you go to sleep then?
I need to. So I can sleep at like when I'm tired, I fall asleep.
Oh, you're one of those guys.
Yeah, which is, hey, it's great. My wife hates me for it because she can't. And usually I'm snoring, I get into that snoring phase. But no, I do need to get away because it used to be going on Twitter and talking about baseball cards. But now that I'm full time, it's like I'm doing cards all day. And it's like that's always been my hobby. Well, for the most part. So now I really need something to wind down. So I'm going to get back to reading. I did pick up a book over the weekend, Malcolm Gladwell. I like his stuff. And How to Talk to Strangers is one of his most recent books. I actually tried to listen to an audiobook. I'm just not an audiobook guy. I got through one chapter and I told my wife, because my wife, Amy, loves audiobooks. And I'm not an audiobook guy. So it was at Costco for like $12. So I picked it up over the weekend. So that's a good, I can get a chapter of reading in before I, start to get heavy eyes. And so I'm going to get back into a reading kick so I can, non-baseball, non-sports, some of that, other stuff like real world stuff, I guess, to help me differentiate between work and not work.
Well, I don't know why you need a book to tell you how to talk to strangers. You've got me talking to strangers right here because there's no stranger than me. So what's up, Big Harmon? What's up, Big Harmon? We're just shooting. Yeah. You are one of those guys because I take an hour, like whenever I stop. So if I stop at 1, I don't go to bed to 2. If I don't stop at 2, I don't go to bed. So that's why in the mornings, if you see me like dragging and I say I went to bed at 2, that means I stopped at 2, which means I didn't get sleep till 3, wake up at 7, or even 6. So yeah, I have to kill it like almost at midnight to be able to wind down enough. So yeah, Herman must be getting ready for the World Series. So
I haven't been paying attention to the World Series. I'm rooting for his Braves, but I just don't really have an interest in. I'm kind of baseballed out, and I think that a lot of that has to do with my Cubs kind of stinking up the joint this year. And And then the teams that were in the postseason, that were in the MLB playoffs, I just, I'll root for the Braves, but it's not a team that I, closely follow. And I hate the Dodgers, I hate the Astros, and
yes,
so it was a playoff field that I just didn't really have much interest in. So I haven't been. I don't know if I've watched more than 3 or 4 innings of any games this playoffs.
Well, the Rangers started bowing out like the first, I don't know, 25 games. I think they were 0-25. So I was out after that. So I'm already ready for next year. Yeah. And, as a Rangers fan, we are hateful, jealous, and what other phrase could I use? Spiteful against the Astros or Trastros. Because one, they got Nolan, and Nolan basically built our team up, and it's just been a rivalry. And what's worse is, back in the past, Rangers fans loved the Astros, loved Biggio, loved Bagwell, it was like the brother and sisterly love. And every once in a while we'd play a silver boot type thing, and it'd be rivalry, just a small little fun rivalry. Nothing, didn't mean anything. And then when they came to the American League, it's like,
yeah,
no, now you're rivals, and we don't like you, and Astros don't like us, and we're jealous of their success. And I want JD fired. I've wanted JD fired for like 7 years now. So, yeah.
That's kind of like the Brewers. In the Cubs, we always taunt the Brewers fans about Wrigley Field North being in Milwaukee at Miller Park, whatever it's called now. But the Brewers have had success here recently. But, before, I think the Brewers came in the National League in 94, it's only like 90 minutes from Milwaukee to Chicago. So there was like Milwaukee, the Cubs and Brewers, like before 94, there was like no rivalry. But now they're in the same division, same league. Now they're 90 minutes apart. Now there's a lot of trash talk, by both sides. So I get it. I get the, that rivalry within division or within league.
Yeah. I'm just glad they didn't put us like that would have just been looking.
We've got some infighting between Herman and Ken.
I know. There's family fighting. You need to break your brother and sister up, and you try to figure out which one's the sister.
Sorry, Ken. I'm Team Herman on this debate. I'm pro Braves.
I'm pro Acuna. Does that matter? I'm just pro Acuna. So in doing this show, you and I have talked about card shows and doing card shows and in front of and behind, and I've done a couple of behind the tables. And you had mentioned on your show that you wanted to do a card show 101, and that got me thinking. We talked a little bit behind the scenes, and then I started this Wednesday night brouhaha. And I thought, well, you know what? We've been talking about it. You're now full-time in the hobby and don't have to go to work in the morning.
Well, I have to go to work in the morning. It's just in my basement.
You can sleep in just a hair.
Yeah.
Or take a nap.
My previous employer would probably hate me saying this, but I'm working a lot harder now than what I was.
I know. Good grief. It's good training. So I thought it reached out, thought we'd just sit down and do like, I don't know, cards, just like 101, stuff, the do's and don'ts and things to bring and just in front of, behind, and holding a card show. Cause there's a potential for me to promote one. So we'll just, I guess we'll start with how you got started promoting and building a card show, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. Well, all credit goes to Diego. Diego kind of brought this up. On one of my shows about, kind of doing a card show 101. So yeah, started promoting the Madison Card Show back in April, and it was actually, you know, most of the credit goes to my former co-promoter Johnny Lee, who's actually now in Texas. He just moved to Austin a few weeks ago. Him and I have been, you know, we were texting back and forth, you know, tweeting back and forth, and hosting a card show, promoting a card show was something that I've thought of doing here in Madison, Wisconsin for a couple years. And I just never did, you know, I just never did it. And Johnny reached out and he's like, "Hey, have you ever thought about doing a card show?" And I'm like, "Actually, yes, I've thought a lot about it," because we had a card show. And it was mostly monthly. I think he ran it like 9 months of the year. And it was in a really small hotel room, like a hotel conference room. It was like 12 tables. There was like, you couldn't even fit 2 people through the aisle. It was on Sundays. So there was a lot of things about the show that it's like, I think we can do better. Like there's a big hobby following in this area in South Central Wisconsin that I think, you know, I'm a big fan of Saturday shows as opposed to Sunday shows. Sundays, I'm just kind of lazy and lounge around. Saturdays, I'm like productive. I want to, you know, go out, get out, do shopping, go to a card show. A bigger space was definitely needed because I'm a bargain box guy. And at the previous room, there's just no room to look at cards, or you're getting bumped from every which way. So there was a lot of things that, you know, I felt there was a need. And I think that's the most important aspect of promoting a show, putting one on is there a need? I think that if there's a presence already and if it's done right, then, you know, I don't think there's really a need. And there's been a lot of shows popping up, you know, every which way. So, you know, I felt all along that there was a need for something different here in our area, our immediate area. So he's a realtor as well. So he knew the contacts and how to work contracts and work with commercial spaces. So we looked at a couple different options. We finally settled on the Sheraton Hotel, which is where we've held it and will continue to hold it next year as well. So that's kind of how it all came about. It's an idea that I had, and it was just things that I like, and that I felt that there was a need for, you know, some of the things, because I know I'm not the only one that likes to not be crowded in a card show. Isn't that the most annoying thing about a card show is people bumping into you and not having room and all that. So, you know, that's kind of where it all started.
Yeah. That's probably my biggest pet, because, you know, I'm not a big guy. So you get us, you know, even the kid, think about kids, if they're walking through the aisles, you got 2 big guys standing there. So what's the kid supposed to do, to go forward or backwards? You know, he can't, he's intimidated. That's the last thing you want at a card show, is kids being intimidated, or just anybody. And it's not done on purpose. It's not done maliciously. It's just, you got 2 big bulk hulking guys, and then add their backpacks on top of that.
Yeah.
You know, you've experienced that probably around March and April at the Dallas Card Show. And even this weekend in the main room, you get two of those guys with backpacks on. You can't really move in between the aisles. So that's number one, is the ability to move into the aisles, and that flow, and how the flow is, and do you go left, or do you go right, or do you go straight, or do you go, that's huge to think about. And so do you separate like vintage from modern, or do you have them like meshed together, or how do you do that?
It's kind of up in the air. You know, when we started, we had, you know, a ton of space. Our first show in April, we had 15 paid tables. And at my show last Saturday, I had 56 paid tables. So we had a lot of room to work with, where I would show up Saturday morning and just get there before, 15, 20 minutes before the other vendors started arriving, just to get my stuff in, and they'd come in and I'd pick a table, wherever you want to set up. But within the last couple months, I'm filling the room. So now it's a little more strategic. But mainly I want to reward my regular vendors that have been with me from the beginning, or from the earlier beginning. And if they like a spot, it's like, okay, that's, pick a spot. You've been with me the, most of the time or all of the time. Where do you want to set up? And just kind of let them choose. And most of them, once they find a spot, they, continue, which actually makes it easier for me, because, I know Quentin's going to be here, and Mark's going to be here, and, John's going to be here, Matt's going to be there. So it helps me out. As far as like separating, okay, vintage is going to be here, and modern and supplies or whatever, I don't do that. And I don't think for a show my size, it's really important, because we're in one big ballroom. It's 5,500 square feet. So it's not a big ballroom by any means, but, it's a large room, and, you're going to be able to walk it in a short amount of time. It's not something like the Dallas Card Show or the National, where it's, a huge space where you kind of want to have an idea of where things are. So, I kind of put vendors where they want to be. And then, I kind of fill in, if it's, the open tables I have left, I just, kind of throw whatever. Some of the guys, I really don't know too much about what they have. So that's kind of how I approach it.
Yeah, that's not bad. Did you, or are you thinking about doing like a snake draft type thing, where whoever's been there the longest, they get first pick, second pick, third pick, fourth pick, that type of thing, and then go down a list so that you get the grandfather guys, and then whatever table's left? Or do you just leave it up to go?
Yeah, it's pretty much, I mean, I'm not to the point yet where we're running out of space. So it's kind of, if somebody wants, so if unless somebody, I haven't really, there's a few guys where I just put them I know where to put them, and I put name tags. I go there, a day or two before. It's usually set up a couple days before the show. So I'll go on Thursday or Friday afternoon, and I'll put name tags down. I haven't really had, the need to, do any type of draft or anything like that for spaces. A lot of times, if, I have enough, it's only about like half the vendors that want their spots. The other half really don't care, or they're new. But, I had a guy, on Saturday, and he, I had him in spot, and he's like, hey, can I be, more towards, the front? And we have two entrances, but there's one kind of main entrance where most of the people come in. So he just wanted to be closer. And I'm like, yeah, I've got, this spot, this spot, this spot. So, whatever. And he's a guy I think he's been setting up at most every show. So, but in that helps me for the next show next month, I'll know where he wants to be, set up. So I'll, put him in one of those spots. And I think, down the road, the next few months, we're going to get to that point where, I'm going to have to, either create a waiting list, or I have some space outside in the hallway that, the venue allows us to use. We just haven't, reached that point yet that, we'll utilize that space if needed. Okay.
So when are you going to do the add-ons, the rent-a-cases, and the extra tables, and the add-ons? They're big boy. When you going to do that?
We've talked to, when Johnny was so when Johnny was co-promoting with me, it created a good dynamic, because he's a slab guy. He's hustling, trading slabs and buying high-end stuff. And I'm the cheap guy. I'm I've got the 3 tables of bargain boxes, and I'm going to the other bargain box guys trying to buy their tables out at the end of the show. I'm buying penny cards at the end of the show, and he's slapping down $1,000 on some slabs. So we had that good dynamic going. And I have no need for, cases, but he does. And he didn't have cases, when he was setting up. So it's like, should I buy X amount of cases and we can rent them out? And I'm like, that's a good idea, because a lot of shows do that. And we've had vendors ask, do you rent out cases? And, it's something that, I'm not going to do in the near future, but potentially, down the road that can definitely be something that I'll look into.
Yeah. So then you've got autographs that I'm sure you're thinking of and doing that. But what about like a card seminar where you get, I don't know, somebody who's got a little bit of knowledge like yourself that could do like we just talked about, like a 1970s or 1960s a vintage baseball, how to start up a vintage, like Mike Moynihan does on YouTube, or Card Collecting 101, or buying supply, or something like that, like a 15-minute seminar or that type of thing. It's a little more educational as opposed to just a card show.
I haven't thought about that, but that's a great idea. And when I was set up, I've developed a really good relationship with some guys that run the Northern Illinois Card Show in Rockford, Illinois. And one of the vendors there, he hasn't set up at my show, but he's like a card grade. Like he knows how to. He's kind of like a pre-grader. Is it Dallas Card Investors where they kind of like pre-grade? Yeah.
Yep.
So he does that, and he offers that service. And I think he has like his own office where he, provides that service for, a low, I don't know how much it is, but X amount per card. And he brings like his microscope and, the what is it, the jeweler's loop and all that stuff. Yeah. And he's got it on this screen where he shows, all the imperfections of the card. And he's like, this will probably grade an 8 or, whatever. And, I found it's, very interesting. Another vendor, there was about 3 or 4 vendors, kind of a lull in the afternoon, brought over a couple Wayne Gretzky rookie cards. And both of them were, I think, marked altered by PSA. And so he's like, why were these marked altered? And so he runs them under the microscope, and from the naked eye, you couldn't tell. But in the microscope, you could tell it had been trimmed just a millimeter. And you could tell under the microscope how much, it was trimmed so much top to bottom. And the other one, and remember, both were mark altered. The other one was trimmed just so much side to side. So left to right, it was just trimmed just a millimeter, and you can't see with the naked eye. So it's like when it comes back altered, it's like, why in the heck did this come back altered? Because it's the same, but it's not the same under, the microscope. And it was just, I've never graded a card. I've never subbed a card. I plan to submit, some of my vintage pre-war stuff, just to get them slabbed authenticated. But to see something, and I think that's very valuable, especially, I run into so many people that are coming. I mean, even now it's October, we just had our October show, and I've been doing the show since April, and every month I have more and more people coming up. This is my first card show. I haven't collected cards in 30 years. And they're like, what's all this grading stuff about? So, the hobby, I know there's been kind of a lull, but people are still interested in, people returning to the hobby are still, coming out. And, I talked to a gentleman on Saturday, and he's like, I haven't been to a card show in 35 years or 30 years, whatever it was. And, so, that's great to hear as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It stirs. So yeah, it is Diego. They are doing something very, very similar. And we talked about this morning. They're doing scans. I don't know what their level, if it's a microscope or anything like that, but they are doing scans and they're doing pre-grading of cards, which is what I think Forensic and Dallas Card Investors doing. I think they're doing more of that deep dive. Um, and then again, yeah, some shops as well. You've got people that have got the skills to be able to do that. So I think there is a I think education is severely lacking in our hobby. We'll just say in our hobby. The people that are coming in, they don't really necessarily have, unless you jump on YouTube and start watching everything. Then, but that's hours upon hours upon hours upon hours upon hours, and go back and watch every single one of the 130, 139, 171 episodes of Your Texas Card Dude to learn as much as you.
Yeah. And who do you trust? I mean,
Yeah.
there's so much content out there that it's like, who has an agenda? Is there some back, if somebody's touting whatever grading company, I won't even throw a name out there, but people that are listening know, whatever grading company, well, are they getting is there a kickback? Are they a sponsor? What? So there's a lot of content that it's just like, and defined, and to kind of walk through the weeds and decipher who's legit, who's not legit, is even more time consuming. It'll take even more time, twice as long, to figure out who you can trust and who's just in it for the quick buck.
Yeah, and even amongst the content creators, they're between you and I. Let's look at even between you and I. There's some different philosophies, and while we do the same thing, there's still some different philosophies. So, do you go with Beau's way of doing things, or do you go with Brad's way of doing things, or what do you like? Yeah, yeah. There you go. Me like cards. So I mean, I do think that while most of the content creators have good hearts, you're not supposed to judge the hearts of men. So I'll say that I wholly believe that more than not, the content creators have a good heart and are just trying to share information. It's where do you learn? And if you're coming back into the hobby, you found a card show. Now, ooh, that's a good. I found a card show. Now what?
Right?
Just that ability to learn, and who knows behind the table. Good segue. Good segue behind the table, if that person's honest or not. Because one of the things that I learned going to my very first card show back into there were a couple of guys that they were at the Dallas Card Show that weren't so trustworthy,
Yeah.
and I got taken. And now they are no longer at the current Dallas Card Show. Well, look at that. Look at that. What's up, Zach? What's up, Zach? Tell Porter we said hi.
I'm actually going to get to meet Zach and Porter in about a week and a half. We're going to hit up a card show in Milwaukee.
That's cool. That's really cool. That's really cool. Make sure you give Porter a noogie for me. But so coming back into the hobby, I trusted a couple of guys. There's a couple of guys that I bought cards, trusted the price that I saw, because I don't really like. I'll ask for a discount, but I won't negotiate price. And that's just because they have overhead. And that's just, again, that's me. That's completely different. But you don't know who to trust behind the table. So from behind the table, how much education do you give? How much time do you spend on on somebody from your aspect?
I mean, I spend as much time as what I think, the other person is, what type of information they're looking for. And in fact, I brought up, somebody who came up and said it was their first card show in like 30 years. He had no idea. He said, I have some unopened boxes, and I didn't drill down if they're unopened like wax boxes or unopened sets, or if they're just boxes that he hand collated in 1975 or whatever year it was, and just hasn't opened them since the 70s. So I didn't drill down to that because that wasn't really the topic, but he wanted to learn about grading, and I, kind of gave him the background. I'm like, well, PSA, I think what's the minimum? I told him 150 because I think that's the current minimum for a card submission.
Yeah.
And he's like, ooh, and yeah, that takes you back. But I said there's alternatives. And I kind of ran down PSAs, I think we can all agree that PSA is kind of the number one, out there. And then there's other grading companies that, are less. They may not carry the same weight. But if it's, pre-war, SGC is a good option. And, I was just, kind of giving him the generic rundown of the current state of the grading atmosphere. And, so he asked for my information, and I said, I will, disclose, I've never submitted a card for grading. I don't even know what to look for. If it's something, let me know if you're looking to sell, I'll take a look at it. If you're looking to grade something, I can get you in touch with the right people. And so we had a great conversation. He took my card, and, maybe he'll decide to reach out. Maybe he'll find somebody else to reach out. But, I like to educate. I mean, I think that's obvious with what I provide on my YouTube channel and my blog. And, I want to see everybody succeed. And, we've talked, like, just because we both sell cards and we both sell cards on eBay, we're not competitors. Like, I want to see everybody succeed because there's a market. There's room for all of us. There's a lot of cards, and we all have different price points. We have different buy-ins. And I just, I want to see everybody succeed, because if everybody succeeds, the hobby is thriving, and we all can be happy.
Well, the hobby is the people.
It is. I have a good friend that says that. Do you know him?
I think I do know her.
Her name's Sharon. Her name's Sharon.
Yes, her name is Sharon.
I think her birthday was this week.
I need to call her. So I know there's signage. I mean, come on, you got to have signage. What types of signs? Pricing, make an offer, multiples discounts. You want to share your socials. What type of payments you're taking. That you wouldn't say, hey, I'm buying cards. I am buying cards. Well, any other types of signage that you put up is like, hey, this is something that I need to do, or that, information that you want to have real quick, like a pop type thing.
Yeah. And do as I say, not as I do, because I'm kind of,
yes.
I'm lacking on the, and me coming from a marketing background and a sales background, I kind of lack the signage, but I'm also at the same time, I guess it doesn't give me a pass on the Rockford show where I'm just a vendor, but at my show, I'm, helping other vendors and doing all that. So, but I really do need to increase my, signage for my, my own stuff. But yeah, when it comes to pricing, like, again, I'm just a bargain box guy. So I love everything being priced. And I think that's kind of like the number one pet peeve of card show buyers is when something's not priced. Mine's easy. Like, everything's a quarter. And then there's a dollar box, and everything in that one is $1. So I don't have to change prices. I don't have to go look at comps or anything like that. I don't mind I'm going to flip it around as a buyer. I don't mind some of the rare or pre-war because that's what I'm typically looking at as a buyer for Cubs cards is the older, more rare stuff. And I don't mind if it doesn't have a price on it. And sometimes I'll just ask because I'm curious. I know it's out of my price range, but I am curious. And so I don't mind asking. Now, if it's a box, my biggest pet peeve when it comes to not pricing is if it's just a random box, half top loaded, half in penny sleeves. Some of them aren't even in penny sleeves, and there's no stickers on it. There's no price. There's nothing. And I'm like, hey, how much are these cards? Oh, well, it depends. And then they're going to bring their phone out. So those booths, I just walk away. But if it's a 1909 T206, there's not one at every booth. I'm okay asking if it's not priced. Although there's really those prices don't fluctuate, too often. So even in that case, there's not really an excuse not to price those because the prices on pre-war don't really go up or down. They're not volatile like whoever the hot quarterback is this week. So
right.
So I kind of veered off, but signage, definitely pricing number one. Payment. I didn't even really think about the payment because I would take PayPal. I don't have like a Square thing for credit cards, but I'd take PayPal. I sprawl out my business cards. And the funny thing about the business cards is, it seems like 3 or 4 times a show, they're like, oh, hey, when's your next show? And I'm like, oh, it's on the card. They're like, oh, what card? I'm like, and I'll have people. I had one guy he's a regular, digs through my boxes, and he goes, the card that's sprawled out all over the tables. It's like, yeah, there's about 40 of them right in front of you. So that's, I do volume discounts. I do the fill a box, and I stole that idea from a vendor at another show. 100 count box, fill it for $20. You get 20 cents a card. Hey, maybe you'll fill 5 or 10 more cards and you'll get some free cards out of it. So those are some of the things, but yeah, definitely, pricing number one, who you are, business cards, that way people, I have, I take, how many cards do I take? 40,000, 50,000 cards at a show, which seems like a lot, but I have 2 million in my basement. So none of them are organized. So if somebody says, yeah, I'm looking for Tom Glavine, I probably have some Tom Glavine, but it might take me 6 months to find them. But I'm sure there's other vendors that are more organized than I am. So that's something, they have your information for future.
Well, I had a quarter box, and then I had a dollar box, and in my dollar box, I took all the dollar cards and I put them in semi-rigids, and I ended up with like, I don't know, smaller. It wasn't large. It was like only, I think it was $499 or $500 cards that I put in semi-rigids. So the quarter cards were in penny sleeves. The semi-rigids were $1, and anything that was above $1, I put in top loaders. And then in order to show a price, I went and got the one touch, and I one touched the price on the penny sleeve so you wouldn't ruin the top loader. And then so that would have the price. And then the one touches or the slabs, I put them in team bags and then put the price on the team bags.
Perfect.
So what was awesome with that is my Kim never had to know what a price. I mean, I told her penny sleeve, one price, and then there wasn't any question. You couldn't have somebody that tried to pull a quarter card, and because that was her biggest worry. If it's a quarter card would be 75 cents, and it was what if and if you write on the penny sleeve, I know that Rich has, and I'll take a picture this weekend and put it on Twitter. Actually, I'll put it out tomorrow. Of you think you had like your entire backdrop. He puts all that in his car, and he takes it to the. I probably, because I'm going to unload the car, I probably should take like a before and after on the card on the car, and each cart as I bring it in, and hey Dan, what's up? And then as we set up, take pictures of that, because you're like, oh, but he puts every card in a penny sleeve, and then he prices every single card. So, oh my gosh, that just would kill me.
I'm a big advocate of penny sleeves on anything a quarter. Any quarter box I think should be penny sleeved. But I know with the top loader shortage, I've talked about this several times, where quarter cards should be penny sleeved, dollar cards should be in top loaders. I've kind of come off that a little bit, just because we all know how short are on top loaders and semi-rigids. So I'm not as a big a stickler as that, because I mean, there were shows, as recent as a few months ago, where if I'm looking through a dollar box and they're in penny sleeves and not top loaders, I'd just be like, yeah, it's probably not worth my time.
Right.
But I've kind of come off that a little bit.
I understand. Pricing. I will say this for someone who's setting up behind the table. Take square. For you, I can understand because everything's a quarter. But if you go into that $2, $3, $5, $10, take square.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And it's only like a half hour setup max, and then 24 hours it goes to your bank and you confirms the number and all that other fun stuff. But the first show I did, I had 5 people come up to me and ask me if I took square. And Kim told me before, go set up square. And I'm like, nobody will ask. Yeah, I lost 5 sales. And so lesson learned. And then I did 5 sales the second show on square. So
that's at the bare minimum PayPal. I mean, I'm not a cat. Like I carry cash. I carry cash now more than ever because of the Cardshow.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not a cash carrier. Like I never carry cash on me. So, and even when I go to a card show, like I just expect, if I'm going to make a higher dollar purchase, I'm just going to put it on, PayPal or a credit card, and my PayPal is linked to, debit card, credit card. I think it's better that way. And I was at a show at the Wisconsin Dells, the August show, and I bought a few pre-war cards from a dealer, and he didn't take PayPal, and he only took cash. And so I go, okay, well, let me run to the ATM. So I go to the ATM. The only ATM was broke. So fortunately, my friend of mine was a vendor at the show, and I'm like, hey, can I borrow this much money from you? I can PayPal you right now, because he's a cash, like he always has cash on him, because he's a big slab guy too. He's opposite of me. He's a big slab guy. So yeah, he's like, oh yeah. So
you had to go ask your uncle to borrow money?
Yeah. I had to go borrow money. And I kind of laughed. Jeremy Lee shared a similar story from the National on his show, and I kind of laughed at it. And it's like, oh, here I am in that same situation. 3 weeks, I think it was 3 weeks later, it was at the Wisconsin Dells show, not long after the National. So there I was in the same predicament.
Yeah, I know that one of the things that I learned in my strategy was, don't take too much. I tried to take everything. And what I think happened was I overwhelmed people with everything, because I brought autographs, I brought slabs, I brought dollar cards, quarter cards. I mean, anything, boxes. I think I brought too much, and it was overwhelming for some people. Just I think if I were to do another one, it would be just kind of focus on one thing and be that one thing.
For sure.
Too much.
I've made the same mistake. Where you just bring the last show I did before COVID hit, I brought quarter boxes. I brought a dollar box. I brought a stack of random priced cards. And then I had like all the junk that I've picked up in collections that here's a $10 whatever
Mm-hmm.
bobblehead. Here's a box of just random crap that's $1 each. Here's a $10 item or a $20 item. And nothing moved. And so not only did I not sell it, then I had to take it home.
Yeah.
And then it's
Had to
like,
pack it.
yeah. And yeah. So, I found my niche with the quarter boxes, the bargain boxes. So I know my lane and my niche. People now know me, and they know, at my show or at the show in Rockford, they can dig through my boxes. Now it's just keeping them up and keeping them fresh because, my pet peeve as a buyer is going to a booth that I love and they don't have updated cards, in their
Yeah.
bargain box. And
Yeah.
so that's a turn off right away.
Yeah. What about, this is a good, I mean, Tom and I had a great conversation about this. Tom Tippett, that is on the morning show. I mean, probably one of my longest friends that I've known forever, since the early 90s. There's only one or two other guys that I've known longer. And we got into a very favorable discussion about priced versus unpriced. And because I priced everything and I had the pricing face up so that all you had to do was look down, look at the price. If you wanted to come off that, then I would, we'd have, whatever percent discount, whatever. If it was a kid, of course it would be a steeper discount, but he would say, don't put your prices up front, put them up back so that they could look at the card and show them the card. And then, the card's physically in their hands, and it's that giving it back type of feel. I mean, how do you, pricing up front or pricing up back?
I'm a front. And I know there's also debate on this because if it's on the front, it may obstruct the view of a certain part of the card.
Right.
And so here, and I'm gonna tell you the reason why I prefer the front and why I have some bias to this. I'm not a condition sensitive guy.
Yeah.
I'm not looking for a gem mint card. I'm not looking to submit for grading. I really don't care if there's a scratch on it. I see a scratch as it's this, there's no difference. I'm not condition sensitive. So that really doesn't do it for me. I guess as a sales tactic, I can see the holding it in the hand, and that's just kind of, halfway to a sale or whatever. But as a buyer, it's a hassle for me to pick it up and turn it over. The way my mind works, if I pick up a card and there's a price on the back and it's not a price I like, I'm not going to be more, it's not going to bother me to put it back down. So, if unless it's a card that I really, really have to have, which is only like a rare card, that, the price may be close to what I'm thinking, but I'm not that kind of buyer.
Yeah.
So, I'm a front, just, I want to see the price, and, it's not going to affect if I have to pick the card up and look at the back, it's not going to affect me, whether I put the card back down or buy the card. So I'm a front. I'm team front.
Yeah. I mean,
and see, that's perfect. Yeah. There's no obstruction. That's how, as a buyer, I think cards should be priced.
yeah. Well, with the P-Touch, I put it here, along here, so that you see, at least you will see, like, not obstructing any view. So, and I was looking for a used, like one of an old, but I don't have one, and I'm not going to get up and go chase one down. But this was a good example of what it should be. And then, out of the view of the card, I don't know. I'm a front guy.
Yeah, I think that's ideal.
I can understand the back, but to each his own. It's a good debate. it's good marketing tactic either way. But the only thing that I didn't like was that people would look, they'd pull their phone out, they'd look at comps, they wouldn't even ask for a lower price, they'd just walk away. So
Yeah.
and even trying to engage somebody, even having the price on the back at least has them, oh, what's the price? And then you can hand it to them and let them look. I can understand both ways of the argument. I can understand both ways.
Yeah, I get the psychology.
You mentioned this morning's show about, and I think it was this morning, about theft. Or was it the previous show? You were talking about theft.
My September show, we had some issues. We had no reported issues this past weekend with 12 more vendor tables. So I was nervous, I think I had 2 reported issues in September. So with the addition of a dozen more tables, I was a little concerned, but no issues reported.
Yeah. At what point do you, because I know the Dallas Card Show, they've now, I mean, it's well known about the person who tested his IQ level that stole a card and brought it back to that. But they now have cameras like in every inch of the thing they've got, and of course there's some extremely high dollar cards. From behind the table, do you just have to say it's not a matter of if it happens, but when it happens, and you just go, okay, it's just a part of the deal?
I mean, here's how I look at it. You can take every preventative measure, and I mean, you can sink a lot of money into security. You can hire a security guard. You can hire 2 security guards. You can buy cameras and put them all over. But guess what? At the end of the day, you can still have theft.
Right.
And guess what? You've just wasted all of your profits, and now you're losing money, and you still have reported issues. So, that's always something as a promoter that's a concern, definitely. And preventative measures will curtail, the fringe thieves, where, I mean, and I had the very first show, and I was talking when these issues came up in September, one of my vendors joked, well, I'm going to put up a webcam and put up a sign that says I'm filming. And I'm like, you can do that. Like, actually, that's probably a good idea. Because I was going to either jump on Hobby Hotline or do a live piece from my April show, our very first show. And I had a webcam in my laptop set up on like an extra table next to me, next to my booth. And I caught some, guys kind of eyeballing the camera like, oh shit, they're filming. They're filming. So, and I think that's just the sight of a camera will curtail some of the borderline guys that, if they don't see a camera and they don't think there's eyes on them, they're going to swipe a card or cards or whatever it may be. So I think there's definitely some preventative measures that can be taken to at least curtail some of those instances. But at the end of the day, an experienced thief can kind of get around even security guards and cameras.
Yeah, and again, that goes back to your strategy of, are you going to be a bulk guy, or are you going to be a slab guy, or are you going to be low end, medium end? That's just stuff that you have to decide who you want to be, and you do you, Boo. I got it in. Or you do you, Beau.
Yeah, and the thing is, and I told some of the guys that, hey, we've had some issues. Just be cautious. Don't put expensive cards on the edge of a table. At the minimum, get a shadow box for $30 or $40 from Michael's or Hobby Lobby, and put cards in a shadow box. Limited cost there. Watch out for your fellow man. If there's a group of 6 people at your neighbor's booth, and he's only one guy, and your spidey senses are tingling, keep an eye out. As long as you can keep an eye on your own stuff. Just watch out for your neighbors, and just be cognizant that in a room full of 200-300 people, there might be some thieves in there.
Yeah. Let's I don't want to go too long, but because you and I talk all night. Let's go to the front of the table. Let's go to the front of the table.
Okay.
There's people that are going to be watching this that, I'm going to my first card show, and this is pretty appropriate because I started packing for the Dallas card show this weekend, and I'm like, what do I need? What would I take if it was my very first or even very second, or what do you consistently take to a card show? So as a experienced couple of dudes, what's one of those things that you would never think of that you would take
as a vendor?
No, as a consumer.
As a consumer, okay. So I always bring a backpack because remember, I'm a bulk guy, and I like getting boxes. So
backpack. There we go.
I take a backpack. Inside my backpack, I've always got, and usually I can put it in. I bring a couple empty storage boxes because some vendors, won't have that handy. And I'm usually digging through 25-cent boxes or dollar boxes. So just to have a box, so I'm, if they don't have anything storage wise, at least I've got a box that I can throw them in. I always bring a pack of penny sleeves and a pack of top loaders. They don't really they haven't come in handy for me, but again, it's kind of one of those what if emergency situations that I run into. So it's just kind of, there. And I think those are key. Storage boxes, backpack, if you end up buying a few boxes, at least, you're not, carrying around in your arms or out to your car. Yeah, you can put them in your backpack. Penny sleeves, top loaders. I always have like pens and markers. Oh, what's Diego says? Oh yeah, Diego's hitting some stuff. Yeah. I always bring a protein bar. Especially like at a bigger show, like when you're there all day. Yeah. Either the lines are super long or I don't want a $10 hot dog. So I'll bring a protein bar, water. Definitely. I always bring a couple bottles of water. Diego says a notepad. That's great. Deodorant. I don't bring deodorant with me, but I do make sure I apply it before I leave. And cash. Yeah. Cash is king at card shows. Like I mentioned earlier, like a lot of vendors, don't take PayPal or credit card. So cash is king.
Yeah. I can't stress enough, not a candy bar, but a protein bar or some, and not nuts, a protein bar. And the reason why is you've got something protecting. It won't spill over everything, and this is less likely to get on your hands. So it's easier. It's easy to unwrap. 1-2 protein bars. You can take a candy bar, but a candy bar is going to last you an hour?
What's going to happen with a candy bar is you're going to open it up, and candy bar like wrappers aren't as good as the protein bar wrappers. So you open them up and then you're going to get, and candy bars melt, like the chocolate melts on a candy bar, not on a protein bar. So the candy bar, and you're going to have chocolate hands, and then your 91 yellow border fleers are going to get all chocolate stained. You don't want that.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, I cannot stress a protein bar enough. Let's see. I got props. So I'm gonna show off some of my props. So I do this, and I am a big sandwich bag guy. So for nasal, you know,
Wow.
I will bring aspirin, Advil, and Motrin because the aspirin is for a headache. The Motrin is for when my feet start to hurt. So if I get a headache from listening to Ken yell all day long, then I can take that. And then when my piggies hurt from being all over the Dallas Card Show and walking all those distances, then I can take the Advil for that. So I take a little, and I always have extra because then, I don't want somebody to say, "Oh man, my head hurts." Well, hey, dude, I got some. I got a very sensitive tummy, so I will bring like Tums, and then for my glasses, lens wipes. So that's yeah. Yeah. See the look on your face? It was like, oh man, I didn't even think about that.
No,
So
my wife always has that in her purse. That's like
Yep.
that's what my wife carries around, and I want It's like you don't carry this stuff around.
So then
You'd be
in
proud.
the same vein, small little hand sanitizer because
I do have a hand sanitizer in my car.
yeah. So hand sanitizer, lens wipes. I will sometimes bring a bar soap because just a little hotel bar of soap.
What do you use it for?
In case I go to the bathroom and there's not any soap. I want to make sure I can wash my hands. So
damn, you come prepared.
No, this is prepared. I'd bring sanitized wipes because we're guys and we're disgusting and we'll pee all over the toilet seat. Well, if I have to do my business, I'm not sitting on some dude's like urine. So I bring yes,
Just hover.
It's a little
hover.
No, I can't do it, man. I can't do it.
Give your quads a workout.
So this is something. So people like using their earbuds, their wireless earbuds. Okay, so I use the wired. And the reason why is because it is less battery power. And if you're going to be at a show for 12 hours, I want to maximize my battery power. All right, so there's that. And then
we're going to a card show, not a 3-week vacation.
But this all fits in it's all in nice little baggies, and it goes right. An extra brick and power charger.
I do bring a power charger, one of those power banks or whatever they call them.
All right, now here's the power bank.
Yep, I bring one of those. Yeah,
I'll bring a power bank, and then
and the reason why is usually card shows are in like cavernous, and I'm thinking like the National and the Chicago Sports Spectaculars in the same building. It just sucks the battery out of your phone. So so it just eats battery. So those are important.
Well, okay, so here's something all y'all are gonna laugh at me until
I'm already laughing.
Until I tell you there you go, Diego. There you go. But I'm not sitting on some nasty toilet seat. So this happened like I think I was at a Cowboy game once. And every single, I missed almost a full quarter because I couldn't find a halfway decent toilet. And so I just don't deal with it anymore. I just don't do it. I bring my Chromebook. And so the power is just in case of the Chromebook. And the reason why I bring my Chromebook is you can't do Terapeak on your phone. I can do Terapeak on a Chromebook.
I don't know if I've ever used Terapeak, actually, to be honest with you.
Well, if you're doing like higher end cards, if you're trying to look at prices for slabs, or you're trying to look for historical pricing or anything like that, you can do solds, but solds only goes back 30 days sometimes.
Yeah, 30 to 60.
And so you can only do that on the browser. So I bring my laptop, or I bring my Chromebook. Chromebook's very light, $200, pretty decent investment. It fits into the side. So I've got the battery. And then if while I'm eating my protein bar, I want to listen to something, I bring the other set of headphones because you can't stick a fire wire into a Chromebook. And I use the baggies, so then I don't have to go digging and pulling wires out, and I don't have to work. And then I just put it back in the bag and throw it back in the backpack. So, for paper, I highly, highly, highly recommend one of these. And this is marking. Shoot, I completely forgot what these were called.
Are those
tabs,
Post-it notes?
Post-it notes, tabs, and then blank paper. So I can, that way I can mark down what I spent it on, how much I've spent.
See, I use Notepad in my phone for that.
Yeah, you could do that. You could, unfortunately,
but I will say, to kind of contradict myself, I bought a planner yesterday or 2 days ago at Target, because now that I have to track my like card expenditures far more closely than ever, I think having like that pen and paper helps me keep track. And yeah, it's small like that, so it can fit in my pocket or so yeah.
Or
so I'm kind of on the same page with you on that one.
Yeah, throw it in the glove box and you're good to go. Agree with the water bottle. I'll also put
the kitchen sink. Is that in in your backpack?
No, but I do bring a toilet seat. But in here, I'll put my Target list, and I'll put I'll bring. Yeah, way to go, Diego. Way to go. You guys yuck it up, but I guarantee you, the next time you're at a football game or you're at the next card show and the toilets are all nasty, you wish you'd brought some sanitation wipes. So forget all y'all. And
while you're sitting there, you can get your Chromebook out.
Exactly, and look up Terapeak. And then the one thing, sometimes I will and sometimes I won't. I'll bring a little, USB hard drive for back history. For people with like tons of pictures like you, then every once in a while I'll bring that. And then if you're a content creator, microphone.
Okay.
All right. I know y'all are making fun of me, but I know at some point somebody is going to walk into a show and go, man, I wish I'd brought some Advil. Man, I wish I'd brought some aspirin.
No,
because it all fit, because it's so small, it fits into a backpack. I understand, but you guys, I'm serious. It all fits into it. I know, Diego. I know. But you guys will be thanking me at some point when you put all this stuff into your backpack, because and you want to make sure your backpack has some sort of padded back, lumbar support or something. Because
I bought a really nice one at I think it was at Dick's Sporting Goods, and it's got like a bar. So it's got super cushiony straps.
Pockets are your friends.
Oh yeah,
pockets are your friend, because then I just have to slide stuff, and then it's not digging for anything. The side pockets, one pocket is for the aspirin and the hand sanitizer, and the other side is for snacks, so I know which side I'm on. The water bottle goes into and tissues. That's what I knew I would forget something, but the little tissues, because if you sneeze. And do you really want to run to the bathroom no, you've got hand sanitizer right there. You don't have to run all the way to the bathroom and then run all the way back. I mean, time is of the essence on a Saturday show, especially when you're at the Dallas Card Show and it's 4 great, big, huge, or you're at the National and you're in the middle of the floor. Do you really want to go run because you sneezed? You really want to have to stop where you're at or get out of line or give up your great seat while you're at Beau's $1.25? You really want to give that up?
I've never had that happen.
You've never had to blow, like sneeze and then.
No.
Boy, it must be my allergies. It must be my allergies, which is why I carry the nasal spray. because, you know, somebody who hasn't showered or put on deodorant, I might need to.
That's true.
All right, what did I forget besides the kitchen sink?
Apparently nothing. I think we've covered everything that you could possibly think of.
Oh, you should have seen
and beyond.
You should have seen. We had all that in a backpack, and then you should have seen, like, we brought tape. My wife did a to-go bag or a go bag for the show, so we had tape, we had tablecloths, we had knife, we had an X-Acto knife, we had I can't even, like, the little scooters. So if something was heavy, she could put something on the scooter and then scoot it. We got rulers, we got levels, so you could measure to make sure that it aesthetically was, yeah. So yeah. We did. We brought a level. What else did we bring?
Good
Tape
Lord.
measure, batteries. I'm trying to think what else was in the go bag.
Most of these things shouldn't be touched on in Cardshow 101. This is like advanced level, like 101. Just bring some money, some penny sleeves in a box.
Here we go. So this is a great question by Diego. At the front of the table, how do you approach a hope for a discount for buying a few things? Well, first off, if the guy's, you know, worth his salt, he has a discount. You know, he says he's going to have a bulk discount or a sign or something like that. So you've got that already opening. But I'll let you answer this one. I'm going to just be quiet because y'all are making fun of me.
Yeah, a lot of, you know, in some, so like for me at my booth, I have the fill a box bargain.
That you learned from Ken, right?
That's you know, I saw him message that, but no, I stole the idea from a vendor at the Wisconsin Dell show back in May. Is where I got that idea from. But if I, like, as a buyer, if I, you know, usually most vendors will offer a volume discount, and it kind of depends on what stuff they have. Like, if they have a lot of good stuff, I'm not too concerned about getting a discount. But sometimes I'll ask, and I just ask, like, do you do a volume discount? And what I've learned most of the time, they'll say, well, it depends. You know, it depends on how many, you know, if you buy 100, I'll give you 20 cents per card on a 25-cent card. So I just ask. Sometimes I just, like, I'll fill, you know, they're like, hey, do you want a box? It's not a fill a box or anything like that, but it's just a storage box. And then they'll count and they'll give me a discount. And, you know, sometimes I'm not expecting it. Sometimes I'm hoping for a discount. Usually, like 90% of the times, vendors will offer a discount, especially if you ask. So, I mean, I guess that would be number one. Like, if there's any question for you as a buyer, if there's going to be a discount, just ask. Say, hey, do you offer volume discounts? Just that's all you have to do is just ask. Hey, is there any volume discounts? What if I buy X amount, or however you want to word it? And most vendors will work with you.
I usually take like a handful of cards, do some math in my head of what the sticker price is.
Yeah.
And then take 40% off of that and say, hey, hand them to them and say, would you take $100? Would you take 60 for it? And then work from there. If I'm trying to be a really, really, really big butthole, I'll say, hey, will you take 50 for this? And then they look at you like you're an a-hole. I'm like, hey, you'll know if you don't ask.
Right.
And then that usually lightens the mood as a joke. And then it kind of, you know, then you got a little bit of banter back and forth. And the guy knows you. It's not just the butthole, but the guy that's willing to take a shot.
Right.
And make a funny joke. But you never know unless you ask. So, and then from there, usually it ends up around I don't know, 30-ish plus or minus of a discount. So
yeah, and I know DR mentioned my tips previously in the chat. He was asking me a couple of weeks ago about how do you approach some, a vendor if they'll sell like a bargain box outright at a bulk
Oh
discount.
yeah.
And that's one of those things where it's like most vendors, especially if it's toward the end of the show, they would like to move. I mean, even me, who's, I take these boxes to shows all the time. I'd love to move in bulk and just get rid of one whole box for X amount. So usually the sellers are, want to sell you a bulk deal just as much as you would like to buy a bulk deal. And it's finding that happy medium where both parties, where it's a fair deal and both parties are happy. So how I approach that is, 2 weeks ago I was at a show and there was a vendor who we had already worked out a deal on a bargain box that he actually came to me and he's like, "Hey, I've got this box. Do you want it for this price?" "Yeah, sure." And so he had some dollar boxes. I went through them, so I knew he was willing to sell in bulk. So that was kind of how, it's like, okay, maybe I can get another good deal. And I went through, looked at some of the cards, and I'll go through, maybe most of the box, just to see, what's common, because even a dollar box, people put dime cards in there, just as filler, basically. So it's like how many truly dollar cards, $2-3 cards are there in here? There's probably some cards that I can flip for $5, $6, $7, maybe a $10 card. There's going to be a lot of dollar cards that I'm just going to put in my dollar box. And then there's going to be a lot of cards that are 25-cent cards, even though they're in his dollar box. So it's like, okay, what's a good price? And then I'll say, if I find that it's worthy of a bulk buy where I can, I can make some money, he can make some money. I'll kind of have a price in my head or even a price range in my head. I'll ask the vendor, because some vendors don't want to sell in bulk, especially if it's, for me, if it's a new box, if I just brought this box, of basketball cards to the show for the first show, I'm not motivated to move because I can get some miles out of it at other card shows. So he may not be willing to sell, especially at a bulk deal. So I'll say, hey, would you sell one of these boxes or two of these boxes for in a bulk deal? And sometimes, usually they'll just kind of hem and haw, because as they're hemming and hawing, they're thinking of a price in their mind. And then I always want the seller to make the move on price. And, in fact, the deal that I made at the Rockford show, I named my price, and he's like, okay, well, I'm okay with that. If you are, it's like, yeah, I'm cool. And so we made that deal. I always like the seller to make the price. I think it's always on the seller to set the price, and then that's where the negotiation begins. So that's going to vary. I had another bulk buy, probably 2 months ago, where I had a pretty wide price range because there was it was one of those bargain boxes where some cards were a quarter and it was not priced. Some were $20 cards. Some, there was a $30 card in there, and it's all in the same box. And I had a price range in mind, and they came in $50. The seller came in $50 lower than what I kind of planned on paying. Because I had, say $250 in mind, and he's like, how about 200? And I'm like, yeah, I'll take it for 200. So you never know. So, but I always like the seller to name the price, even if you're asking to buy in bulk. So that's kind of how I approach those bulk deals.
Yeah, I think I'm going to try this weekend, because there's always breakers that come to the Dallas Card Show to sell the hits that they didn't, however they required. But then off to the side, they've got their base cards just sitting in already already in top loaders, already in penny sleeves and top loaders, and they've got $1, $3, $5, 10, whatever, and it's all like laid out in shoe boxes. And I think this time I'm going to go and look at those shoe boxes, and I may offer a bulk deal on one of these breakers to this, because I found some smashing deals in that. And if it's all the same set and all the same stuff, man, throw that on an Excel spreadsheet and upload that.
Yeah, let it hum.
Because now, to us, it's just throwing it on a spreadsheet and letting it go. And if you can get it at a really good price, why not? I mean, it incentivizes you, because we know how to do it quickly, and to be able to do that. The question is, okay, so it's $1 to $5 or $1 to $3. Do you? Again, this is me being the silly booty hole. I'll count like, okay, well, it's a 500 card count box. Will you take 250? And there's $1, $3, $5. You don't know unless you ask. Take the shot. Gretzky says you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So I don't know. We'll see how that goes. I'm interested to see how that strategy works, because I really want to see if that makes a dent. I'm not going to do that to Rich, though, because Rich would sell me his entire collection and get rid of it right away if he could. I'd end up coming home with like 50 bazillion boxes, and I would not have a show on Monday or any other day.
Right.
Let's see. Oh, wow. There you go. Yeah. There you go.
Hopefully it wasn't a quarter box.
Yeah. I'm hoping that's like, a $3 box or something like that. Not even a $1 box.
Yeah, $1 box. There's no room. He was not looking to move.
No, he wasn't. That was one of those that you're like, okay, well, thanks for playing. Yeah. Here's your sign. Well, we're wrapping up on an hour and 30, and I thought that's about where an hour 30, because both of us have stuff to do in the morning. And it
was a quarter box.
Wow.
He'd be on my walk on buy list. I had a guy. I had a guy, and I didn't ask, but he had dime boxes, and they were like literally dime cards. Like there were some decent cards in there, but most of them were like legit dime cards. And he's like, "I'll sell you the whole box for $200." And like that's what I sell my full quarter boxes for. Like I would sell for $200, and my quarter boxes have $3, $4, $5 cards in them. No, not all of them are that price, but his were. And I'm like, okay. I think I bought like 10 cards, paid $1, moved on.
Diego, I think I would quietly be spreading that around at the card show. Just quietly be spreading that around. Dude, you'll never guess what just happened to me. And say, it was over there. I can't remember what the booth was, but it's over there. They'll know. That word would spread around pretty quickly. 24 minutes in. We're bound determined to hit this thing on 1 hour and 30 minutes. So I'll let you. I appreciate it. Next show, what's worth selling at a show? No, we're not doing that one, Diego. You figure it out yourself.
Yeah, that's a loaded question. I mean, it's and that's the funny thing, especially when you're dealing with bargain boxes. I mean, I'll have somebody pick out like in a lot of like my sales are stacks of cards, so I really don't know what people are buying. Because they'll just bring a stack and they're like, I've got 50 cards. I'm like, okay, let's make it X amount. So I really don't know what's actually moving, but sometimes I'll have somebody like just hand me a stack of, 20 cards, and I'll just kind of count, and I'll look through, and it's like some random 2013 Bowman card. And it's like, I mean, most of the card, I don't put commons in the quarter boxes, but maybe it's a Topps gold, so it's serial numbered, but it's really, it's like, some random player who played 2 years in baseball and they pulled out this player. And it's, so some of the stuff that I never know what I'm going to sell. I brought commons, like 4-row boxes of junk wax commons, and I put $20 per box. I mean, the boxes alone sell for like $8, I think now. So, and there was I mixed some new stuff just to make it, somewhat attractive. If somebody's looking for bulk commons, set builders and stuff. And so I had one person look at them, and I'm like, it was like I was like a fly on feces. And I'm like, I'll give you a deal if you buy all of those, because I didn't want to take them home. And so I sold them like $10 a box. And so I brought 5 or 6 more the next show, hoping, hey, if I can make $50 or $60 on these commons, I'm happy. And he didn't show up. And this was like in June. And he showed up to my show this weekend. And he's like, hey, how come you don't have those common boxes? I'm like, I haven't seen you since June.
Here's my business card. Call me.
Yeah, you're the only guy that wants them, but I have a bunch at home. Let me know if you want more.
Yeah, exactly.
So you never know. And I put together. I do have to credit Uncle Rich Klein. He's been very helpful with some tips for my card show over the last few months. And we were talking about the quarter boxes, and I mentioned I kind of did a closeout sale where I went through, and I've got some trades that I'm working on. So I went through like 2 quarter boxes that I had, and I pulled like a small pile of cards that I'll use in some trades. And then I just put like a sign, $100 for a 4-row box, and they're all quarter cards that were in my boxes that just haven't sold. And I did sell one, which I was hopeful that I would sell one. But you never know. Sometimes they sell, sometimes they don't. And sometimes sometimes you go into a show. I always say as a seller, as a vendor, go in with super low expectations, set the bar low, hope to make your money back. And anything above that is gravy. So, I've done enough shows now this year, with my current, setup, that I kind of know the ballpark. I know what a great show is. I know what a decent show is, and then I know what a bad show is. So it's just kind of get out there, do it, and after a few tries, you kind of get that rhythm going, and you know the expectations.
I hear you. Any absolute last thoughts on everything that we said before we bail?
No, I've got nothing else. If you don't,
I got just, as usual. If you have any prayer requests, let me know. I'll be more than happy to pray you up. Thank you for joining. Thank you for watching. Thank you for participating in the chat. We greatly appreciate it. You are going live tomorrow morning?
Yes, sir. 7 a.m. Central.
7 a.m. Central. I will not be going live tomorrow. But I will be going live on Friday, and that's at 8 a.m. Central. We'll do Hobby Palooza. But be kind to one another. Support your local LCSs. Support your local card shows, and be kind to one another, everybody. And we're out. And bye.